So March 6th, I pick up the phone because I see things jumping off. My wife will tell you, we leaving that Saturday, it was on a Friday. I pick up the phone, call my broker, and say, move all my money, dog. All name $1,000 out of this 401k. Move every penny of it. Now that was on March 6th. I pick up the phone and make that phone call because the Most High said, by the time you get back, it will be too late. Right? My broker talks me out of it. My broker's like, Mr. Pride, can we handle this? We're the experts. I said, bro, I know what I'm talking about. Mr. Pride. And for the first time, because everybody knows that I do this. This is like my third time doing this. This is the first time because I was busy and I was distracted because I'm getting ready to go on vacation. So I really couldn't focus. And I said, you know what? No problem. I'll deal with it when I get back. And my wife would tell you, I couldn't rest while I was on vacation. The Most High said, you missed the window, you missed it, you missed it. 2 weeks later, my account was sitting at $79,000. $79,000. And the Most High said, you are different because I tell you everything. How did you miss this? And I said, I was going on vacation and I got distracted. I said, no problem. I'll take it. I'll take that loss. I'll just have to count the loss. So this is crucial to me because, see, I don't just teach. I live my life by what the Most High shows me. Hence, why I sit at the financial status on a senior master sergeant salary, because I can hear from the Most High. So go ahead.
Do you think that the first COVID outbreak had anything with correlation with what's going on here using the mayor? The mayor's part of the plan. You know?
I think I don't know. So let me finish this. So I put here on March 13th, a national emergency was declared in the United States concerning COVID-19 outbreak, and everything began to crash. Also on March 13th, now this is what y'all missed. Understand the scheme you're in. Something crucial happened on March 13th also. Bill Gates steps down as the board of director for Microsoft. As the economy begins to kind of go back and forth. But now let me give you the timeline, because the scripture says, understanding the scheme of your enemy. So I'm gonna give you a timeline of all the CEOs that started resigning during this time frame. Because see, the enemy is on the same page. We the ones that deceive. They know what they're doing. So I got it here for you. I'll start with January 30th. IBM CEO, that's his name, he resigns on January 30th. Hulu CEO resigns on January 31st. LinkedIn CEO resigns on February 2nd. Aurora Cannabis, which I have a lot of money and lost it all in, every single penny of it. Lost every single penny of it. $5,000 I had in this company. Lost every penny of it. He resigns. He resigns on February 6th. MGM CEO resigns on February 12th. Credit Sushi CEO resigns on February 13th. L Brand CEO, February 20th. Howard and Wilkins, February 21st. St. Luke Hospital CEO, he got out. February 25th. Outdoors Voices, Uber Eats, Salesforce, MasterCard CEO, Disney CEO, UPS CEO, then Bill Gates on 13th. Why are all these guys resigning in this short window?
But if you look at it too, it's before they even declared pandemic.
Right. Now keep in mind, at this same time, senators was being accused of insider trading. Follow me. This is the time senators was being accused of insider trading. Now I know this is deep for y'all, but you gotta understand the scheme of your enemy. Because if you think that this don't affect you, if you got a 401k, all this affects you. So you might want to understand this, right? They get out and they begin to sell their stock off. Because if you sell your stock while you're the CEO, you get accused of what they call insider trading, and you can do 12 years in prison for that. But if I step down, I'm a regular citizen, and I can unload it before it crashes. Are y'all following me? Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I didn't get to where I'm at as a senior master sergeant, and Rick didn't get to the financial status he had as a master sergeant without understanding the schemes of your enemy. We don't get paid that kind of money in the military. Antoine make all the money in the military. He make all the money. So I'm just trying to really talk to y'all because people wonder, how do y'all get to even the financial status y'all get to? Are y'all great investors? I said, no, we listen to the Most High. The Most High guides us and leads us because we studied. My wife would tell you, I'm up to 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not studying no dietary laws. I'm studying the scheme of my enemies. I'm not studying when the Sabbath starts. On Sunday, I already know all that. I'm studying the scheme of my enemy. I'm not studying whether you can have multiple wives or not. I'm already know you got to be a fool if you think you have this right. You have to be a special fool if you want. The one you got that was enough. Why would I even want an extra one? So why the Hebrew camp?
I agree.
I'm just saying. No offense to my Hebrew brothers. But while they talk about that foolishness, the Most High says, you study the scheme of your enemy. So let me go. I'm gonna get back there because this is part 1. I got about 10 minutes because I'm gonna skip some of this and come back to it next week because there's one I gotta show you, and we'll stop here. Because of this, and I'll pick some of this up, Rick. I know we got 3 more we need to cover, but I gotta get to this one. This is the one where once you get on this level, then you ain't arguing no more. Once you get on this level right here, you can understand COVID-19, you can understand market crashes, you can understand why the CDC is now changing their mind on COVID-19. You can see why the health organization, World Health Organization, why Trump defunded. You can see why Bill Gates and his wife is sitting in African nation with little black kids all over the place, like they the savior for the African nation. You can figure all this out. But you got to know the scheme of your enemy. All right? So let's talk about Big Boss. I put him above everybody. I put him above the Pope. Yes, I put him above the Pope. I put him above all the papaltry, or whatever you want to call it. I put him above everybody. Everybody. This is a man of the hour right here, and has been the man of the hour for probably the last 40 years. 40 years. So let's talk about it.
He's one of the richest men in the world. He's given away a staggering $32 billion. But is the billion?
Hold on. Y'all gotta understand who this joker is. Because if you can understand him, you can understand Black Lives Matter. You can understand Antifa. You can understand Antifa. You can understand how 3 lesbian women start a small organization and becomes one of the world's largest organizations. By 3 lesbian women, they ain't got no money. But now they're the #1 voice on all of television. You will understand it if you can understand Big Boss right.
A philanthropist. He's one of the richest men in the world. He's given away a staggering $32 billion. But is the billionaire philanthropist George Soros at the heart of a global conspiracy?
I fear we could be looking at the biggest level of international political collusion in history. For globalists,
Allegations are multiplying of secret Soros plots, orchestrating violence on the streets of America, and masterminding a hoax bomb plot to bring down the president.
The whole thing is a complete fantasy. This is the politics of the 21st century.
Initial reports of an active shooter, one down.
Let me pause. Guys, remember, we're not looking for entertainment. Enemy, the Most High allows the enemy to show his hand. He gonna pick it back up. If you don't catch it, they moving on. So keep in mind, you're not watching for entertainment. You're watching, asking the Most High, show me what I need to see.
This is a conspiracy theory with deadly consequences.
Let's talk about
So how did George Soros become the arch villain? Born in 1930 to Jewish parents in Hungary, he survived the Holocaust to become one of the richest men and one of the biggest philanthropists in the world.
George Soros, as a person who studied philosophy, he always had a hankering to do more than simply make.
He didn't just study his philosophy, he studied the philosophy of different nations. Follow me. Ephesians 6. You battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, weakness, schemes of your enemy. So what he did, began to study the philosophy of different nations. What causes different nations to rise and fall? Financially, and morally.
Money.
Soros's fortune has given his Open Society foundations $1 billion a year.
Write that down because you should know that. You should know what the Open Society Foundation is, because the Open Society Foundation is probably in 120 countries right now, including the US. So do some time to figure out who is this Open Society Foundation, because you may end up joining them and not even knowing it. You may be sending a donation to them and not even knowing it. You may want to know where your money going when you send a donation to somebody.
To fund thousands of education, health, human rights.
Now, you're going to see him with Hebrews, helping what we call Hebrew nations, or really Hamite nations, many of them, and then wondering why these nations are dying by the masses when they're supposed to be helping them.
In Hungary, he survived the Holocaust to become one of the richest men and one of the biggest philanthropists in the world.
George Soros, as a person who studied philosophy, he always had a hankering to do more than simply make money.
Soros's fortune has given his Open Society foundations $1 billion a year to fund thousands of education, health, human rights, and democracy projects. Soros has pioneered a bold political approach to philanthropy, championing the rights of dissidents, migrants, and the oppressed. Starting in 1979, he focused on the former communist states. His foundations now operate in more than 120 countries around the world.
Hope you caught that.
The democracy or open society only survives if it's tested. It's constantly in danger. It's constantly in danger of falling apart, and there must be some people who fight to preserve.
Now, keep in mind the purpose of the Antichrist. The Antichrist comes in the middle of chaos, and he has to answer. Keep in mind what Yeshua told you. Yeshua had already told you. He said, many Antichrists have already come. Meaning, I'm allowed them to come so you can learn what they look like, but when the final one comes, you won't be giving yourself over to it. So the Messiah told you, many Antichrists have already come, hoping that you would study their schemes, so when the real one come on the scene, you'll be like, okay, I got enough practice. I know what this looks like. All right.
New York based, he's made an incredible $44 billion through financial speculation. But he's accused of channeling his vast wealth in pursuit of a secret plan to overthrow governments, to control European politics.
Please join me in welcoming George Soros.
And to buy
Now,
up the US government.
People understand, let me pause here. People understand, if you understand George Soros and the people connected to her, you can understand why Minister Pride is driving to work on election day. And he's parked outside of his job underneath the tree, praying for God to kill this woman or keep her from coming into power. That was my prayer. While Hebrew people were going to the votes voting for her, Torah people included. I'm parked there working underneath the tree, weeping and crying, saying, God, I know we deserve destruction, but for my sake and for my children's sake, spare us of this devil. If you got to take her, this was my exact prayer. If you got to take her breath out of her body today, do it for me. Then I got to look at my Hebrew brother. How you doing? This is growing it. I mean, to be honest, because you got to understand.
Do people know how wicked he,
Thank you.
she is and other people? And that's the spiritual thing, right? Where people don't understand how deep some of these people are into whatever they're into, and how these spirits and the hatred and the wickedness that's in them to control stuff. And it was a blessing that God let Trump become president, not her, because if she became president, we'd be at war right now. There'd be all kinds of stuff going on right now.
And Barry, here's who Trump is. I said, Trump is not your answer. Trump is the grace period that God gave you to get your stuff together. Listen, I knew Trump was not the answer, but I knew this. I need more time. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready for this nation to go into, I need to get whatever I need to get and get the heck up out of here. I need to buy my little land, set up whatever I need to do. I need to get from under that control. I need to get up out of the city. I need more time. And I know if she comes on the scene, my time is out. So I said, just give me a little more time because I already know how this ends. Matthew chapter 24 and others tell me how this ends.
Yes.
But you said it shouldn't catch us off guard. You give your people time to prepare for stuff. That's what I'm praying. I'm not some fool. Trump is the Most High's grace to get the Hebrew a little time to what you want to do, to get yourself together. Flee to wherever you think you're going to flee to and figure yourself out. Because guess what? When they come, it's lockdown. It's over with. And if you think you are so arrogant that this can't happen to you, go talk to Russia, who used to be on the verge of being the next world superpower, and they went from being a superpower to standing in line begging for bread, and the women becoming mail order brides just to get the heck up out of it. So don't think you're so arrogant, America, that this can't happen to you. And that's our problem. We see other nations that was powerful come to their knees, and we see and think, oh, we good. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So let's finish. Y'all gotta understand, because I'm praying, guys, that we learn who our enemy is. If not, you won't have to worry about no KKK putting no noose around your neck or no police officer. You will put it around your neck yourself.
All to impose his own global vision.
So this is where I spend hours and hours and hours a day back in here.
Jim Hoft says he created his news and opinion website to expose the wickedness of the left.
Now, I'm irritated with this guy because, I praise the Most High for him, but I'm like, this guy retired from his job and decided to dedicate his whole time to learning the scheme of his enemy. He was like, I'm done work. And that's all he does. He sits in his house and studies the scheme of his enemy day and night. And he's not even Hebrew.
He claims it's the biased reporting of the mainstream media.
Our audience continues to grow, and it's because they trust what we're putting out there. I would say the media was with Hillary, and there wasn't a lot of conservative outlets that were with Trump. We were.
Babe, something happened over here. I don't know what's going on.
Jim Hoft champions Donald Trump's message that the global elite are destroying America.
Okay, so he understands Donald Trump's message. Follow me, because this is where you got to understand. He understands. See, the Hebrew people are supposed to be wiser than other people. So he understands Donald Trump's message is the global elites are trying to control America. That's why he started his campaign with Make America Great Again. Had nothing to do with no white, black, nothing. It had to do with becoming independent from this nation. And guess what? He knew Brexit would come on the scene. That's Brexit. Everybody know what Brexit is, right?
They try to break free.
That's Britain exiting the European Union. Because they like, hold on. This is Britain trying to get out of the European Union. Because they know these jokers bringing nations to their knees. And we need to escape and become independent, not dependent on nobody, because they making you come to your knees. I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're Haiti, I don't care if you're Libya, I don't care if you're Britain, I don't care if you're Russia, they don't care. So that's where he started his campaign. But the media knows that they're talking to unlearned people. So the media say, oh, he's trying to make it white again. He's trying to make it this again. And they knew if the Hebrew can adopt this, the Hebrew can influence folks. So the Hebrew is emotional about this stuff. So let's continue.
That's Obama. That's Hillary Clinton.
The worst enemy of the United States is on top.
It's claimed one man embodies everything that's going wrong in America.
George Soros. George Soros is the biggest, largest donor to anti-American causes.
The Gateway Pundit is determined to reveal the true George Soros.
People are so aware of his name now on the right that if you say it's Soros funded or that it's linked to George Soros, it immediately puts up a red flag. People in middle America sure see him as a globalist, see him as an elitist.
We don't want people pouring into our country. We have no idea who they are, where they.
Now, if you can understand George Soros, you can understand the whole border crisis that not only the U.S. was fighting against, you got to understand, Europe was fighting against a border crisis at the same time we're fighting against a border crisis. Mass immigrants coming into nations. The line media made you think it was about race. They knew it wasn't about race. They know, according to George Soros' scheme, the #1 way to destabilize a nation is to pour illegal immigrants into it. Not legal immigrants, illegal immigrants. Because guess what? These people need housing, these people need food. Your nation is already broke, your city is already broke, California, states already broke. Pour them in, and guess what? Also, what it does, it gives you free slave labor, a cheap slave labor. So now Janae went to school and got $50,000 in debt, and she decides she want to be a welder, where she demands $40 an hour based on her skill. Put Janae to the side and find whoever they don't care if the immigrant's black, white, whatever, because he's willing to do it for $10 an hour. And the company make buku money, while Janae finds a different trade. Do you follow me? The company makes buku money, because now they would have had to pay Janae $40 an hour for her education background, whatever, but the illegal immigrant would do it for $10 an hour, and all the profit, no profit goes to the illegal immigrant. All goes to the corporation. So understand the game.
We will build a great wall along the southern border.
There's one issue above all that's enraged the right. They claim George Soros wants open borders and has a secret plan to flood the...
What is the name of his society again? Open Society. Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to help you put every part of the society. Foundation. Come on, y'all. Put the pieces together. Y'all smart people in here. Y'all got degrees.
Country with migrants. In autumn 2018, thousands of migrants left Honduras bound for the USA.
Y'all remember this? Right during midterm elections. All funded by George Soros. All funded by George Soros. Trump actually sent the military down to stop this. Perfect timing, right before midterm elections.
It was just a month before the crucial midterm elections that threatened to derail Trump's presidency.
Where did all these folks come from?
The so-called migrant caravan was blamed on George Soros.
Who provided water, food, transportation, and all that for all these poor people?
They hadn't been walking for days.
I know that.
That's ridiculous. They were dressed just like us.
I know that. Got cell phones and everything.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people say yes.
We don't fund caravans. We do fund policy change. We do look.
Listen to the interview. What did she say? She said, we don't fund caravans. You battle not against what? We fund policy change. The caravan is not what you're supposed to look at. The caravan will usher in a policy change. Y'all follow me?
To solve the crisis over migration, but that does not include the funding of caravans. Those are preposterous allegations made up by politicians and others want to fuel hatred and fear.
The migrant caravan was formed throughout its entire journey. Local charities were seen helping the migrants, but there's no evidence of Soros funding of any.
Y'all catch it? Local charities help fund the migrants. The local charities are funded through George Soros' organization. They're the ones who pay for all the water, all the food, everything the migrants need. It's not that difficult.
2 weeks before the midterm elections, with the political temperature rising, news came through of mail bombs being sent to leading Democrats. The bomb was sent to Soros's home. Others were sent to Obama and Hillary Clinton. None of the devices detonated. The suspicion? Fake bombs designed to help the Democrats' election chances.
There was something wrong with these bombs. It appeared these were bombs that would never explode because they just were constructed in the correct way.
President Trump seemed to agree, tweeting this bomb stuff was damaging the Republican election campaign.
So that's what these jokers did. They sent bombs out to the top head of the Democrat Party to make it seem like they were being threatened. But they sent their own bomb.
The FBI traced the bomber to a car park in Florida. They impounded his white van. It looked too good to be true, covered in pro-Trump stickers.
Of course.
On the internet, George Soros was accused of orchestrating everything.
The guy who had slapped all the crazy stickers on his van. I'm not going to get into any conspiracy, but it is interesting that this guy built all these, it looks like in the back of a van. So he was a pretty busy guy in his van.
So was George Soros the mastermind of a mail bomb plot to derail the Republican election campaign? Was the white van and its right-wing stickers a setup?
Every morning I would walk my dog down the sidewalk. This white van, saw this white van for about 2 years, almost every day. It was covered with stickers, right-wing crackpot messages, conspiratorial stuff. One day when I was walking by, I just decided to take a picture.
Months later, David watched reports of the mail bomber's arrest.
I looked at the photos I had taken a year ago, and boom, there were some new stickers, but it was the van. When I posted the photos, I probably got more retweets than I ever had in my life. And then almost immediately on the heels of that, I started getting crazy conspiracy stuff. Is somebody making accusations that I had faked when I took the photos?
Using the data on the photos, David Sitkin was able to prove he took them the previous year. The mail bomber turned out to be a 56-year-old Florida man called Cesar Sayok. The final proof that there was no hoax is the former bodybuilder's plea of guilty to 65 counts, including intent to kill or injure with explosives.
You at the time said, it was a total hoax.
We're saying that these bombs there was something wrong with these bombs.
Don't get
and
bored.
that they were a hoax in the fact that they weren't potentially dangerous as they were being reported.
Sayok's social media revealed he hated the migrant caravan. On the day the pipe bomb was discovered at George Soros' house, Sayok reposted a meme that the world is waking up to the horrors of George Soros.
The complainant says they have an active shooter in the building. A second call says they are being attacked. We're under fire. He's got an automatic weapon. He's firing out in front of his city bus.
Now, this is what you got to understand, but how the media plays. Because the media, when the white guy went into the church in South Carolina and shot up all those black people, y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. Media went crazy, got everybody emotions. But when it happened to this community, it was a quick blurb and they moved on quick. Yeah. Quick blurb and moved on quick. Same exact situation. So just follow, just follow.
7 days after the first conspiracy theory surfaced about the migrant caravan, a white male, armed with an assault rifle and 3 handguns, walked into a synagogue in Pittsburgh.
A white male walks into a synagogue. So is this really about race? A white male walks into South Carolina and a white male walks into the synagogue and does the exact same thing.
Police, one caller sounded like they may have been shot. Several calls of persons sheltering in place within the structure.
The gunman murdered 11 Jews. It was the worst act of anti-Semitic violence in American history.
Suspect name is Robert Bowers. Rob Bowers. Everyone, suspects talking about all these Jews need to die. That's the suspect keeps telling about killing Jews. He doesn't want any of them to live.
The gunman Robert Bowers' social media soon revealed his motivation for murder. He believed in a dark anti-Semitic conspiracy theory with George Soros as the mastermind.
We collected some quotes from the Bowers.
Now, here's what's happening with some citizens, and you have to be careful because some citizens are realizing what's happening in their nation and they're losing their mind. They're trying to fix it. They're like, they're becoming unstable because they're knowing the nation that I'm living in, it's changing. I mean, they know the nation that I'm used to living in and the life that I'm used to having, it's changing. And they don't know what to do about it. So they start making irrational decisions based on emotions.
Case from the Pittsburgh shooter to see how he was referring to George Soros. And he says that the gun controls pushed by Jews, open border pushed by Jews. Soros, the Jew that funds white genocide and controls the press.
Ah, the Jew that funds what?
White genocide.
White genocide, not black genocide, but he funds white genocide because here's what people don't realize. I told y'all, George Soros don't care what color you are. He will fund any genocide. So the white folks, see, the white folks are smarter than we are. They know he's funding white genocide. Black folks are not, they don't realize that he's funding black genocide also. We too busy supporting all the people connected to him. But the white folks, they going crazy because they're like, this joker funding white genocide.
To be clear, James, what does white genocide look like?
White genocide is when they begin to control European nations and invade the European nations with different bloodlines to bring down the economy and the social structure. I mean, think about this. You got to understand what's been happening in Europe. Europe been getting whooped by all them Africans and all them coming over with their Muslim agenda, and it's changing. You got cities right here in the U.S. that you can't walk down because guess what? The Muslims own it. They own it. So the white folks are upset because they're like, he's funding white genocide. Well, he's not just funding white genocide, he's funding all genocide.
The person who is funding this white genocide that he's killing people for, the guy who's really behind it is George Soros.
Joel has now received open society funding to investigate what he believes is a growing threat.
White supremacy has gone from being a background phenomenon to a rally that's going on these web platforms with hundreds of thousands of people, 24/7, nonstop, and internationally.
Hold on, these white folks. Interesting. These white folks saying, you will not replace us. Understand what they know that you should know. These white folks march. These ain't black folks marching saying you should not replace us. These white folks. They understand the scheme of what George Soros is trying to do better than we do. And keep in mind, we the Hebrew people. We got this Torah. We got this light. We supposed to understand this.
Did they say you or
That's
I'm sorry, they're saying Jews will not replace us.
Refer to a widespread conspiracy theory of white genocide.
The myth of white genocide.
They call it white genocide.
To study these communities. Basically, the idea
But then
that
why are they,
race.
hold up. So why are they yelling Jews will not replace us? instead of saying you.
No, because they look at George Soros funding these organizations that are literally, because keep in mind, George Soros is actually the one behind taking down all the white folks' history. The Confederate flags, George Soros behind all this. The monuments of Robert E. Lee. Now keep in mind, ain't nobody said take down one Baphomet statue in the US. They done put Baphomet statues up all over the place and nobody said nothing about it. But they're trying to erase a white history out of the US. And white folks know who behind it. White folks ain't looking at black folks saying y'all behind it. The white folks that's in the know, they're like, no, we know who behind this. We know, because black people ain't got no power to remove nothing. We know who behind removing the whole white history of this nation.
Well, what's the agenda behind that? I think I lost. I definitely lost something.
Yeah, because I think what I'm trying to do is tie in all of the different themes into one world government where we started.
One world government. The goal is to first understand one world government don't care whether you Jew, Gentile. Their goal is to bring them all down and to bring them all under submission. The white and the black and the Spanish and the Puerto Rican, they don't care. The enemy ain't walking around saying, oh, you're Hebrew? I want to bring you down. Oh, you white, you do. That's not how the enemy works. The only difference is some of the white folks are realizing how it's affecting them and they crying out. But they're only crying out based on their particular interest.
James, can I say something? What I wrote down here is the scheme is to create all this chaos throughout the whole world for one thing: world domination.
Yes, that's right.
For world domination.
Now we know that that's how the Antichrist emerges. He emerges as someone who has the solutions for the world. We know that. And he will bring solution, crying peace. I can bring peace. And Yeshua told you, he said, they shall be crying peace, peace, when sudden destruction shall come upon them. So Yeshua is giving you all the hints that you need. But our problem is, we're too busy looking at this as if the enemy thinks.
Well, that's where he wants us, because he knows who we are.
Well, he knows that here's the problem. He wants to control the whole nation. But the problem is, and it has been proven, whatever hits a nation, the Hebrew people suffer worse than anybody. It could be a complete mandate on a nation. The Hebrew people will suffer more than anybody. Let me give you a prime example, the crime bill. The crime bill wasn't written as a bill just for black people. The crime bill is a bill for the whole nation. But guess who it dealt with more than anybody else? Black folks. But the crime bill wasn't written, this is for black folks only. But it hit us because guess what I told you from the beginning? The Most High has given the Hebrew the ability to change it to whatever you need, but the Hebrew has teamed up with the enemy the same way he did in the days of Elijah. The same way, ain't nothing changed. So he says, no problem. Whatever you call it, it shall be. Whatever you make it, it shall be. So let me finish this up.
Is falling into decay. That it's no longer breeding, and that everywhere the white race exists, it's being replaced by immigrants.
That's what their concern is. They're saying wherever we exist, immigrants are pouring in, taking over.
And that ultimately this
black folks are doing the opposite. Let them all come in. Let them all come in. Let them all come in. George Soros like, thank y'all for y'all support. Thank you for your support. In return, I shall give you Black Lives Matter.
This is white people entirely. It eliminates them from the planet.
And for white supremacists, Soros is the Jewish mastermind pulling the strings.
George Soros for these communities is the devil incarnate. And all of the memes point to a supernatural evil in a human being.
Remember what I told you, one of the definitions for the scheme of the enemy, it said superhuman. So they looking at, these folks looking at George Soros like, this joke ain't a regular human. He like a super being, he could change a whole nation.
Across Europe, the Soros conspiracy theories are spreading. In Italy, he's now accused of funding rescue ships in the Mediterranean. His real purpose is to smuggle migrants to Europe. Italy's former Deputy Prime Minister, Matteo Salvini, is a fierce critic.
Italy is not a Hebrew nation.
Soros wants to fill Italy and Europe with migrants. He would like Italy to become a giant refugee camp because he likes slaves.
The allegation is false. The allegation
Of
is
course they
false.
say it's
Neither George Soros nor the Open Society Foundation.
Now, they said the allegation is false, but the Prime Minister of Italy says, no, I know what he wants to do to this nation. He wants to flood it so he can have low slave labor, and guess what? All the ones that's got skill, and that's why Trump was saying, if they come, they gotta have a skill that they can contribute to our society. That's why he said, if they come, I don't care if they come. Let them come with a skill they can contribute to our society. If not, all they're gonna do is drain on the society. Now, Mr. Sonny can tell you all the checks that he done delivered to. Go ahead, Mr. Sonny.
Oh, I'm a retired mailman, and I used to deliver checks to people from foreign countries that brought their parents to this country, and the parents would get Social Security checks, and they never worked a day in this country.
And we paying for that.
You pay for that, Janae. With all that good education, you look at your paycheck and wonder why you ain't got no money.
That's why you be mad.
That's why you mad. That's why you mad when you thought they were gonna pay you all that money. When you look at your paycheck, now you know where it's going. All right.
Open borders.
They do me the same way. I gotta pay it too.
That a country like Italy will have a deputy prime minister eliciting such violent rhetoric. It's tragic, but it's not only Salvini.
George Soros has made no secret of his views on Brexit, publicly contributing more than $2 billion to the Remain campaign.
Now he gave how much?
To me, the man.
To the campaign to keep Britain in the European Union. These are white nations. British want out. They're like, these jokers gonna bring us to our knees. We saw them do it to Russia. We saw them do it to many nations. They gonna bring us. This is Britain. Do you know what the word British means? Y'all Hebrew people. British. Brit. Brit means covenant. Yeah, Brit means covenant. Ish means what? People. People. So these, keep in mind, that's what British means. Covenant people. And they're looking like, hold on, we the British. And this joker bringing us to our knees. British didn't even consider themselves European. If you call them European, they would be offended. They're like, I'm British. I'm of an elite society because I'm a covenant people. But now they're waking up saying, this joker is more powerful than us. He is holding us in bondage to the European Union. We want out. We want out.
That's why they still have their pounds and not the euros.
Thank you. Thank you. Only thing I'm doing, guys, is taking you back to Ephesians 6 when it says, you are not battling against flesh and blood. I broke down what each one of those words mean. Learn the schemes of your enemy because they're going to come knocking on your door. And if you don't know who they are, you're going to lend all of your support to them. And then wonder why you look up and they let you in HEB 5 at a time. Oh, you can only buy 5 meats, Keisha, today. Oh, you can only buy 2 loaves of bread today. And the reason I know that, because guess what? The Most High showed me during COVID-19. I sat outside HEB in my car and I just watched and let the Most High talk. He says, this is what they plan on your nation looking like. People were lined up, they were letting them in 5 at a time. I didn't even want that. I just sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes and let the Most High talk.
Venezuela.
This is the US. 5 at a time, 5 at a time. You get there, what they tell you, King, you can only buy 5 fresh meats, right?
Or
5 fresh meats.
Or 4 of the frozen
I had seen
vegetables.
Kingy there to get as much as we need to fill our freezer. She was like, oh, I can only buy 5. And I'm like, hold on, in a nation that has plenty, because there's no food shortage, there's no money shortage, there's nothing in it, there's no shortage.
Yeah, they said everything was still in the back, the same amount.
There's no shortage of nothing. But guess what? We sat right there and obeyed, waiting for our time, 30 minutes. Now keep in mind, 3 weeks before that, a month before that, you can go in and get whatever you want. And your world changed just like that, and you didn't put none of the pieces together. No pieces to the puzzle that you put together. We were all like sheep, just led to the slaughter.
But it was all under COVID-19.
Yes, they used
By
COVID.
virtue of COVID-19, they established these steps. So this is not, of course, it's not the last.
And here's the part that they didn't tell y'all. Many other politicians in their city that was pushing COVID-19, they got accused of throwing birthday parties for their children at the house packed full of folks. They in the backyard swimming and everything.
Talk of a secret Soros plot is spreading to the UK.
George Soros recently gave Open Society $18 billion.
$billion.
And is it
Now keep in mind, that's why if you think Trump is rich, remember Trump came into the White House with a net worth of $9 billion. This guy gives away $50 billion a year. like you need $13 billion to fund my car? Here you go, Angela. It's chump change to him.
Influence here and in Brussels is truly extraordinary. I fear we could be looking at the biggest level of international political collusion in history.
The George Soros conspiracy. This is like probably the most successful political fraud
Okay,
of
guys.
all time.
Okay, we're done there. We're
President.
gonna end with a 5-minute video. Take this home with you. Take this one
What was
home.
the name of that video? The George
I'll get them
Soros?
all to you. I'll get them all to you. Take this one home with you. Because this is the one you gotta understand. This is 5 minutes. It'll help you understand where we are now. Because where we are now was actually predicted 24 hours before Trump's inauguration by George Soros. Listen to this interview. It's 5 minutes and we done it. All right? Catch it.
I think we're almost 24 hours away from the inauguration of the 45th president of the.
So that's the timeline. You got it? 24 hours. So they're interviewing George Soros 24 hours before Trump is already elected, but he hadn't taken a seat. They're interviewing George Soros, and George Soros is going to tell you what you need to understand.
I think we're almost 24 hours away from the inauguration of the 45th president of the United States. Where does he stand in an open society?
Well, I have described him as an imposter and con man and a would-be dictator.
Please help me understand this statement. When Trump has never had a political seat in his life, how can he be a dictator? All he's done his whole life was ran golf courses, casinos, hotels, and resorts. How can you say he's a dictator when he's never held a political seat in his life? Golf course, hotels, resorts, casinos, some of us have stayed there. I have. They treat you good there. Folks come out, get your golf bags, you go eat, they clean your golf club, they treat you like a celebrity there. I don't care what color you are. How can they be predicting him as a dictator when he's never held a political seat?
But he's only a would-be dictator because I'm confident that the Constitution and the institutions of America, of the United States, are strong enough. The division of power is in operation, and he would be dictator if he could get away with it, but he won't be able to.
Because he will be stopped at what point if he goes too far
That's right.
in foreign policy or domestic policy?
In both areas. Obviously, in foreign policy, he has greater powers than in domestic policy.
Did you catch that?
Take office yet.
He said he'll be stopped in both. He said, but in foreign policy, he has greater power than domestic policy. See, we think domestic, they think global. They think global because he could do trade deals that we bet against. We bet against these deals. If these deals happen, we lose. We can't afford for that to happen. We got everything in order. We got ships coming over here, dropping stuff off from China. Nothing goes back from the US. Not one thing. The ship comes over full. That's why you can open up your shirt, your pants, your shoes, and it'll say made in China. When you go to China, you don't see too much that says made in US. The ship comes over full. Trump said not no more. He said that joker coming over full. You fill it up halfway. But guess what? They bet against this. And listen to what happened.
But I think Congress will be a bulwark protecting its rights. And when Trump oversteps the mark, they will fight back. And if they have a bipartisan coalition, they will actually succeed.
He said if they have a bipartisan coalition. So he said, listen, we can get enough Republicans on the side to come against him. We good. Because we always do that. We always do that. Because he's confident. He was like, listen, all we need is a bipartisan. We get a couple of Republicans. So now Trump just lost 2 battles in Supreme Court. He thought he had the majority because he put 2 Supreme Court judges he appointed himself and just lost 2 battles this week. He lost the LGBT non-discrimination battle, lost it. He thought he had the majority, and he just lost. What was the other one? DACA. He thought we good. I could get rid of these. George Soros sitting back like, you think Judge Kavanaugh is gonna be on your side? Wait till we visit his house. You think Judge Roberts, who's conservative, gonna be on your side? Wrong. And guess who was the #1 person to shift everything? The conservative John Roberts. The conservative shifted everything with his 1 vote because these jokers have never lost and they don't plan on losing because they said we control both sides. We can I can convince Rick to turn on Antoine in a matter of 1 visit and 1 paycheck. He can go and live his life and his family's life in peace because he knows if he don't, then guess what? You got to see my face and you don't want to see that.
Just a question for you.
Start putting no party has salvation.
So how do you fight an enemy that can fight with both hands? Because I think that's where we got to go. How do you fight an enemy that can fight with both hands? Right?
I'll answer that. Let's say that. I'll answer that in a couple of minutes here.
In limiting him.
We have 3
The
minutes.
markets for the moment seem to be behind Donald Trump.
Okay, listen to what she says. He's not elected yet. I mean, he's not in the seat, but she says the markets at the time is behind him.
To a lot of money.
Oh,
what are they
did you
seeing?
catch what she said?
Donald Trump, it lost you a lot of money.
She said the markets are high, but Donald Trump and lost you a lot of money. Here's what happened. George Soros now bet against the market. Sold out. Start dumping stuff. Because they think Hillary's coming in. The market's gonna do this for a second and fool you. You're gonna jump in. We're jumping out. And it's gonna take a major dive. That's what they have predicted. Trump comes in, the market goes to a record high, and they miss out on all that money. And they mad as hell. They're like, this joker gotta go, and he gotta go now. He gotta go now. This joker cost, keep in mind, George Soros, don't nobody cost George Soros no, George Soros costs you billions. You don't cost him billions. But she says, he's cost you a lot of money. He's not even in the seat. But the markets begin to respond because some people knew, hold on, this joker do business. Just you don't care who you are, he gonna do business. That benefits you, 401k.
What are they seeing?
Well, they are facing a really a unique victory because they are in control of the presidency of effectively Congress, and well, it's not official of the Supreme Court as well.
So this is the Republicans, but what about the markets? The markets,
Well,
the stock markets.
Well, because the markets see Trump dismantling regulations and reducing taxes.
Stop. So Trump is not in the seat, but he says the markets see him because they know what Trump plan is. They say he's gonna start putting deregulation in place. You know what deregulation does? Causes businesses to boom again. You can build cars in your own city again. And you ain't got to worry about them wicked environmentalists telling you you can't build here. You can begin to drill in your own country again. You don't have to worry about those wicked globalist environments. So he knows Trump is going to do this two ways: through deregulation and through tax decreases. They had bet against that. They had bet more regulations, more taxes, lock it down, lock it down. We already cashed out. We can make all this money. Guess what? They lost. That's why you see, you can turn on this television day and night, and you see them trying to get rid of this joker. And the Hebrew people will help do that and usher in their own demise. Because keep in mind, he's not your answer. He's who the Most High gave you to give you a window of grace to get your act together. Whatever you need to get, you better get it. Whatever you need to figure out, you better figure it out, because he will be gone. Whether it's now or 3.5 years from now, he gone. And the one who comes after him, that's it, you done.
Yeah.
There will be not another that does this. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Once.
And that has been their dream. So that dream has come true.
What does it mean for the U.S. economy?
Well, that's a very open question, because right now the answer is that because it's impossible to predict exactly how going to act, because he hasn't actually thought it through. He didn't expect to win. He was surprised. He was engaged in building his brand and improving it by his success in attracting crowds. And it's really only when he got elected that he started seriously to think about what he's going to do. I personally am convinced that he's going to fail.
He's not even in the seat yet. But George says, I'm convinced that he's going to fail. Why is he convinced? Because they're going to make sure he fails. And keep in mind, all she's saying is, well, hold on. Everything is prospering. Just with his announcement. Why would you want it to fail? Because it costs me money. I bet against the country. I bet against it. Because she's like, but everything is in his favor right now. Everything is booming. So here's what happens. I'll stop there. I'll sum it up. So, third impeachment fails. At the time of the third impeachment, we are at 3 things that this nation hadn't seen in 40 years. Record unemployment, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, everybody. Record unemployment. Stock market at a record high, 29,000. 401ks on fleek. 401ks bouncing, right? If you work and got a 401k, you are in the stock market. I tell folks, you are in the stock market. Homes are, real estate is through the roof. You done paid $250,000 for your house is worth $400,000. You sell out and go on, you could buy you $100,000 house on the beach somewhere and go on live your life. Things are looking good. In 3 weeks, but George Soros, I'm confident, in 3 weeks, COVID-19 hits, takes unemployment for blacks from 3.8% to 30% in 3 weeks. And Hebrews are supporting it. Stock market, they can't figure Trump out. Stock market goes to 18,000. Trump caused it all to recover in 3 weeks. You've never seen in your life the stock market go from 18,000 to 26,000. I looked at my account and I called Antoine to talk to some of y'all. I said, look at your account. I said, all the money is back in there and some. I said, I was at 79,000. Where I started at 91, I said, it's at 94 right now. And I'm asking the Most High, do I cash out now? In my spirit, I can hear the Most High said, you are gambling because you trying to catch the window at its peak, but you don't have that vision. And I'm trying to decide, do I cash out now? And I don't know yet because it's hard. You don't know what, I don't know whether he wins or not. But so everything begins to crash. Businesses that you done worked for your whole life, your little hamburger business and your little taco business and your little sewing business, your little t-shirt business and your nails. We saw the lady in Austin go to jail because she's like, I can't afford to do it no more. I'm going to open up my salon and start doing hair again because if not, I lose everything anyway. And they tried to arrest her. So what is the purpose of this today? The purpose is to begin to learn the schemes of your enemy, the way Ephesians said. Revelation told you that nations will begin to join against nations. But those 10 kings that are kings but have no kingdom. See, greed is not necessarily a bad thing. The Most High can use greed because greed will cause two people to turn on each other who both wicked and they will destroy one another. The Most High says, that's what I'm going to do. He said, those 2 kings that's been appointed by the beast, I'm going to cause them to turn on the beast because they don't want more power.
James, can you do me a favor and tie in the mark of the beast? Because I think now, at this point in teaching, we need to understand how the mark of the beast folds into, what is the mark of the beast and how it folds into this discussion, because it's going to be very, very
great
important.
question. And I'm hesitant to say this, but I'm going to say it. I believe most people have already taken the mark. I believe they've already taken the mark. And here's what you got to understand. The scripture says that if you do not take the mark, you will not be able to buy nor sell. Now here's what we think. We think about going to the grocery store, buying. That's not what the scripture says. It's not saying that you can't go to the grocery store. It literally means you will not be able to operate under that system unless you take the mark. The mark, y'all know what the word mark means in Hebrew, right? The word mark is not even a noun. It means to consent. That's what the word mark means in Hebrew, consent. Everybody think it's a tattoo. I said, it ain't none of that. It's to consent. The mark of God is to consent to his laws. The mark of the beast, because in the Old Testament, it's the same word. In the Old Testament, it's called sign. In the New Testament, the word is called mark. Both are the same Hebrew word, which means to consent. So the mark of the beast means to consent with the laws and the policy of the beast. If you do not consent to the laws or the policy of the beast, you can't do business. So here's what happens. Keisha has a brand. Her brand is called Keisha on Fling Nails. Keisha off the hook, on fling, on fleek, on fleek now, right? Now Keisha brands bills. Keisha begins to go from San Antonio to Austin to Dallas to different states, and her brands bills. Finally, they're gonna come knocking on Keisha's door and says, you know, this is LGBT month. All businesses promote LGBT month every day of this month. No, I'm a Christian. We don't care if you're a Christian. Don't care if you're a Christian. This is LGBT month. I'm not gonna do that. Or yes, you are. Or guess what? Next thing you know, the mayor stands up and the mayor says, all businesses, there's a mandate and an ordinance have been passed in San Antonio. Matter of fact, we passed this a long time ago. All businesses that are discriminating against the LGBT, you cannot operate in our city. Because guess what? We have a Black History Month and you support that. We have a Cinco de Mayo and you support that. So why are you discriminating here? That's what it looked like, Antoine.
Can I add something to that also? So we actually, we saw this going back to 2008, 2010, where you had LGBTQ, just like James said, bakers. I believe it was in
We
Oregon.
saw that.
Right? So you had bakers, where you had an LGBTQ or a same-sex couple demanded that the baker make them a wedding cake. And the baker said, I don't support that agenda. I don't support that lifestyle. I'm not baking a cake. Well, the law came in and said, yes, you will. And she said, no, I'm not. The law says, yes, you will. She said, no, I'm not. So what ended up happening was they forced her to close down.
Went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Went all the way to the Supreme Court. Forced her to
Went all the way
close
to the
down.
Supreme Court. This is a mom and pop business, Keisha.
Forced her to
Going
close down.
all the way to the Supreme Court.
Forced her to close down.
Close down.
And this is where buying and selling comes in, where you lose your livelihood. You lose your livelihood. That's their livelihood, where my job is to bake cakes for a living. And you're going to come take that from me because I don't support this agenda? You're right. That's exactly what
That's why the scripture says they shall cause the small and the great to take the mark. Because the number one thing you look at is your livelihood, you're feeding your family. How am I gonna function? So what's the answer? We missed the answer that the Most High gave us a long time ago. Because our problem, and this is where all of us in this room is gonna become convicted. The Most High says, do not be concerned with the cares of this world. Get to a point where you owe no man nothing but love, and you detach yourself from the system. All of us are guilty of not doing that. And then we look up and we're like, well, I gotta take the mark, I got a mortgage. I gotta take the mark, I got a student loan. I gotta do what they tell us to do, or somehow risk losing everything, or somehow trusting that the Most High give you so much influence with the community that they come along and say, you know what, Mike, I'll buy from you. Because keep in mind, I told you the Hebrew controls everything. And the Hebrew, just on the commerce of the Hebrew itself, I'm talking the Hebrew people itself, were the number one consumers in the United States. 13% of the people, number one consumer. So the Most High has set it up where the Hebrew can actually sustain its own community if they was in one accord, but they're not. They're not. So the Hebrew could literally sustain a Mike, or I'm talking whatever business Mike works. We could sustain it, but the problem is the Hebrews are not attached to the Most High anymore.
But it actually goes to another layer. Because if you look at, for example, your employment, I got a friend of mine that works for Bank of America, right? And part of the decree to work in a Bank of America is you have to certify that I support a certain agenda, right? There was a survey that went out to all of those that worked in from HR to all of the employees, and they were beta testing, asking individuals 5 questions: do you support this? Do you support that? Do you support this? How do you live here? And at the last one, I think question number 5, do you support the LGBTQ? Individuals that were saying, I do not support the LGBTQ, mysteriously got waived, if you will. Mysteriously got waived. Right now, we know that the law said that you can't do that. I get that I should be able to support whatever I want to support. But that's a part of the doctrine that you're going to see when coming up on the scene, where even your very livelihood, where you work, is going to be determining whether or not you're going to support this agenda.
And I'll close with this. Because the Most High, those of us who think you got a little money and you secure with your money, you're not. And the Most High showed me this. Me and Kenny go up to Dallas to buy this truck, right? I walk in the bank. And I said, hey, I need to make a withdrawal. Because I'm paying for this truck in cash, I need to make a withdrawal. It's how much you need, Mr. Fry. I tell them, they said, you can't have it. What do you mean I can't have it? They were like, you can only have this much amount. I was like, do you know? I said, call the manager. I said, call the manager. The manager comes out, he's a Hebrew. So I'm thinking, I'm good.
Right. The rules ain't changed.
I'm thinking, I'm good. I talked to the Hebrew brother. I said, listen, man, I need this much money out of my account. I said, Mr. Pryor, you can't have it.
Fill in.
I'm like, what do you mean I can't have it? It's my money. And I'm thinking, I got buku money in this bank. What do you mean? They were like, you can only have so much a day. And I'm like, so he says this. He says, and I said, listen, man, the guy's down the street waiting for me to buy his car. I drove all the way from San Antonio to get this truck. He says, here's what I'll do. I'll give you a certain amount here, and I'll send you to our sister bank down the street, and she can give you the other amount. But you can only have so much a day. They said, now we can write you a cashier check. They said, but cash? And I'm thinking, bro, don't nobody want to do no business with no cashier check these days with all this fraud. They want cash. These folks want cash for their car. But my point is, and the Most High showed me, he says, that's what's gonna happen. That's what happened in Venezuela. Them jokers had buku money in the bank, and they were only letting them take $60 out the day to buy food, and they got a bank full of money. But guess what? The government owns the bank, and they was telling. Can you imagine having $500,000 in the bank, and they will only give you $60 a day at the time?
That was Greece too.
I mean, that was Greece, not Venezuela. That was Greece.
That's what they call a bail-in.
So this is what's happening, and I said, guys, this ain't happening in no other nation. The United States that you used to once live in, she's gone. And guess what? She's steady fading unless you wake up and begin to wake other people up.
Before you close, go back to the question that I asked you, because I want everybody to hear this. How do you war when your enemy has both hands?
To me, it's very simple. The Most High says, if you return to me, then I will cause your enemies to flee. He said, if you return to me. Because you got to understand, you can't win anyway if the Most High is not on your side. You can't win anyway if the Most High is not on your side. The number one agenda right now for the Hebrew people, and I know it's failing, is returning back to the laws of God. But you know the number one agenda that has the Hebrew attention right now is what I call perverted prophecy, and that's the LGBT community. A voice for the people, a watchman on the wall, a prophetic voice to the Hebrew people, but it's a perverted, abominable voice because it represents what the Hebrew people look like to the Most High. Because keep in mind, the reason Most High said, I will turn you over to who you are. So right now, the number one voice for the Hebrew community almost in every nation is a perverted LGBT agenda started by 3 lesbian feminists, and they're supposed to represent the release of the Hebrew man from the oppressor. After the Most High has never used anything perverted to deliver his people. I said all perverted things have done is taken his people deeper and deeper into oppression. And that's where we're headed because we have no wisdom. And this young man was at last week, or the last time you was at my house, Jared.
Yes, sir.
He was at my house when we were sitting over there. And I began to talk to Jared about the LGBT. I'm not sure if you quite understood it at that time, but we went to their page, right? And I said, Jared, you're living in a time where they're not even trying to hide it from you. Because I believe we're going to be held doubly accountable because the Most High said, I'm letting you see everything you need to see, but you don't want to see it. So we went right to their website.
Her story.
I said, you ain't got. I said, if you want to know who they are, they tell you all you got to do is go on their website and click on 2 tabs: About tab and Herstory tab, not history, Herstory. And when he read it, he was like, oh, wow. And what I love about young people like him, I looked 3 days later, he was talking about it on Facebook, and I saw people coming at you like, bro, what's wrong with you? You done lost your mind? What happened to you? You done fell off the boat? No, he saw the truth. But the enemy, but I told him, I said, this has been there since they began. This is not something new. I read this on their website when they first came out. I said, because they didn't hide it. They used Trayvon Martin's death to push their perverted agenda and told you on their own website. That's what got me so angry. I said, they told you that's what they were doing. They said on their website, the heterosexuals have taken over and they won't listen to us. So we represent what? The queer, the LGBT, and the transgender voice for Black folks. Since the heterosexual men won't let us on the platform.
We're a threat to them.
We're a threat to them. So guess what? George Soros says, no problem. I will put you above all of them jokes. And now guess what? They got the whole platform. We ain't got no voice. No, they done took over the whole agenda. And the Hebrew is running behind them like a sheep being led to the slaughter.
Campaign on the street.
So, oh, yeah. So with that said, my prayer to everybody in the room and everybody that's tuning in, you got this much time to humble yourself and return to the Most High's laws. The Most High, here's what we think the Most High is. I said, just because the church is debating over God's laws and certain Christians is debating over God's laws, I said, I want y'all to know from the Most High's perspective, he ain't talking to you no more about it. He's settled. He's like a parent who said, I'm done talking to you. If you don't understand it, you better humble yourself and get around somebody to understand it. But guess what? Ain't no more negotiating with you. You walk in my ways, or guess what? I turn you over, we done. I'm gone and I'm resting. And matter of fact, I'm turning my face away from you until you're ready to listen. I said, guys, that's where we are right now. So I tell everybody, you can sit and debate over Paul if you want to. You can act like you don't. I said, you better get around somebody that the Most High has skilled in this and humble yourself and learn. If not, then guess what? Destruction is hidden. Ain't no, Most High ain't talking about it no more. And he told you that a long time ago. He said, my law is settled in heaven. He said, thank you. He said, it's forever settled. You can talk about it. I'm not negotiating with you. I'm not somebody that sits and negotiates with a disobedient child. You're like, I'm not doing that. You better learn my ways and get in this house. So that's where we are, guys. Next week, we're going to pick back up. We're going to go back to this, but go deeper into it. We're going to begin to break down who each nation is, who the 10 kings are, who this woman, the beast, everybody. We're going to go back to Ephesians and begin to make that tangible to you. And we're going to continue to unfold this house of Babylon. Because understand this, if you don't understand who this house of Babylon is, she will become who you want it to be. Because the Hebrew control. So if the Hebrew want America to be Babylon, the Most High says, no problem. I've given you the ability to drive a Lexus and live in a $500,000 house, start your business, do whatever you want to do. You can go and worship. You can worship a false god if you want to. You couldn't do that in no Babylon. I mean, you can worship the true God if you want to. I was like, where in Babylon could you go and worship the true God? I said, please show me. You could worship a snake if you want to in America. You could worship a frog. You can worship whatever you want to. I said, not in Babylon, you couldn't. Babylon said, you gonna bow down to our God and you're done with. I said, in America, you've always been able to worship. Your problem is you didn't want to. The problem is not that you couldn't have worshiped Yeshua in America or Yahuwah in America. You didn't want to. I said, so now keep in mind, all nations have drunk of her. All nations have drank from the mother. I said, but we need to unfold this thing and figure it out, because John is talking from a global perspective. And the angel takes him to a specific place in the wilderness so he could understand. He could have left John where he was, but he said, no, he took me to the wilderness. And there I saw this. So I'm just asking to let the Most High unfold this, because this ties into America. But she may not be who you think she is. She may be your place the Most High has given a Hebrew to have a chance to breathe and get your act together before somebody takes over your nation. That's what I firmly believe she is. I believe that's why she's the youngest. I believe that's why she represents freedom. And I know that she has some stains on her eyes, but guess what? Every nation that the Hebrew has, if you study scripture, has the blood of the Hebrews on them, every nation. Even the nation before, the nation that sold you. I said, you wasn't singing Kumbaya when you were there. You could read the book of Jasher and know that somebody had to facilitate you going into slavery, because them people are people of war. Them jokers, the Most High says, these jokers, one of them could put 1,000 to flight. So there had to be somebody connected to you that will give your enemy the power to overtake you. This ain't like no Roots and Kunta Kinte, where no white folks getting off of no ship, running, throwing a net over no rubber. I said, that did not happen. These are Hebrew people. These jokers know how to battle. These jokers could see you a mile away coming and deal with you. So you have to understand the history of even what happened to the Hebrew people, and how the Hebrew people gave themselves over to pagan idolatry worship, thinking that the person was on their side and beginning to be their enemy. We looked at Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer taking a knee with the kente cloth. And I'm looking at black folks saying, I bet you they understand what this cloth means more than you. Because I've been telling black folks to get that cloth off. And they come against me like I'm some sellout. And I was like, obviously you don't know who the Kentes are. I said, if you think the Kente is your friend, you may want to go and study the Kente tribe. I said, the Kente tribe was the #1 tribe that helped sell you into slavery. And we walk around with Kente cloth on. Because you have no identity. So you identify with the closest thing that you think look like you, and ain't nothing like you. Because we have no identity. We have no identity. So I'm glad you're doing that. You need to study study the Kente cloth and who that tribe was.
I'm sorry. Can I just interject one thing? Something just made me think about Samson. It's almost like Samson cut his own hair off.
That's a powerful analogy. But what caused him to cut his own hair off?
The one
something he had
who happened to be a whore.
Something he had been seduced and came in a covenant into something that he shouldn't.
Right.
I mean, the same thing happened to what's his name, who went into the grave that the Most High called forth?
Lazarus.
The name Lazarus literally means, the Hebrew name for Lazarus is Eleazar. That's a Hebrew name for Lazarus. And it means a servant of God who's coming in covenant with a foreign wife. That's what the name Lazarus means. And it caused you to go into a state of death. And the only way to come out of that is the Most High has to call you for it. We can teach all day. The Most High has to come and knock on your place of death and say, come on for it, come on for it, come on for it. So that's what the name Lazarus means. We shouldn't have. And according to the Torah, you are always going to a state of death, because the Most High only sets before you what? Life and death. That's it. So, guys, with that done,
as we close in the background, have Trump's rally. I think it's still going. I'm just curious about the people.
What's that?
The rally for Trump is going on right now. Is Trump?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
keep it silent. Just show me.
So, guys, let's get ready to close. I didn't expect for this teaching to last this long today. And I'm saying that because I have a 7 o'clock appointment. And I expect it to be done. Guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all so much. We'll continue next week.
It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. It was very nice.
Thank y'all, Helen. How y'all? Thank y'all, Raymond, Roy.
Hey man, look, you can't have no meat next time. We ain't got no food to eat. Been out here 2 hours. You ain't offered no breath mints. No chameleon wafers, nothing, brother. Come on, man. Can I get a gift certificate or something?
Right.
I'll see you some pig feet in the mail. I'll see you some skins and some pig feet in the mail. Hey guys, we'll see y'all next week. Thank y'all.
Okay. Take care, y'all.
Okay.